There are moments in life when someone you barely know walks into your home and somehow, without meaning to, walks straight into the quietest part of your heart. If you think you know how this story ends, stay till the end. Because what happened that weekend still echoes through everything I've become. When I opened the door that Friday afternoon, I never imagined how much a single weekend could change me. Evelyn, my closest friend since college, stood there with her teenage son Aaron. He was 17, polite but distant, the kind of boy who looked like he was always somewhere else in his mind. Evelyn had a sudden work emergency out of town and no one to watch him for the weekend. I didn't hesitate. Of course, he can stay here, I said. I lived alone. My husband had passed 3 years ago, and the silence in my house had become a kind of second skin. I told myself I was used to it, that I preferred it even. But if I'm being honest, I missed the noise. When Aaron stepped inside, he gave me a small, polite smile. "Thank you, ma'am," he said, his voice quiet, careful. "You can call me Claire," I told him. That evening, the house felt alive again. The sound of footsteps, the opening of the fridge, the muffled laughter from the living room. It was like oxygen filling a space I hadn't realized was empty. After dinner, we talked about small things. His school, his mom's long hours, the pressure of growing up too fast. There was a seriousness in his tone that didn't belong to a teenager. He told me he sometimes stayed up late drawing. "It helps me not think so much," he said with a soft shrug. I nodded, understanding far too well what he meant. Later that night, as I walked past the guest room, I saw him sitting by the window sketching quietly under the dim light. The rain had begun to fall outside, and something about that sight, the boy, the rain, the calm, stirred something deep and old in me. By midnight, the rain had turned into a full storm. Thunder rattled the windows, and for the first time in years, I felt uneasy in my own home. Power flickered once, twice, then went out completely. "Aaron," I called out. He appeared in the hallway, flashlight in hand. "It's okay, Claire. I think it's just the storm." I smiled nervously. "You're braver than me," I admitted. We sat together in the living room, candles casting soft shadows on the walls. He told me stories about how his mom used to comfort him during storms when he was little, by pretending the thunder was the sky clapping for brave hearts. That night, we talked until the rain softened. There was something rare about the quiet understanding between us, two people from different worlds, both learning what it meant to feel seen again. Before he went to bed, I noticed he looked hesitant. "Is everything okay?" I asked. He nodded. "It's just, the guest bed's kind of close to the window. The storm still makes me jump sometimes." Without thinking, I said, "You can stay in my room tonight if it helps you sleep better. I'll take the couch." He blinked, surprised. "Are you sure?" "Of course," I said, smiling. "It's just one night." And just like that, the line between comfort and memory blurred in a way I didn't understand yet. When I woke, the house was quiet except for the steady drip of rain easing off the roof. I'd barely slept, half listening for footsteps, half thinking about how strange it was to have another presence breathing under the same roof again. I went to the kitchen to make coffee, and there he was, messy hair, sleeves rolled up, struggling with the toaster. "Morning," he said sheepishly. "I was trying to make breakfast before you woke up." The toast was burnt, the eggs uneven, but the sight of someone trying warmed me more than the coffee ever could. We sat across from each other, steam curling between us. "It's not bad," I lied. He laughed. "You don't have to pretend." That sound, his laughter, lifted something heavy inside me. I realized I hadn't heard laughter in my kitchen in years. He asked about my husband, about how I handled the quiet after. I told him the truth. At first, you fight the silence. Then you start to wear it like a coat. One day, you realize it's too heavy, but you don't remember how to take it off. Aaron listened the way few adults did, with empathy that didn't feel forced. By afternoon, the sun returned. We went out for groceries, joking about my awful driving directions and his taste in snacks. I didn't notice the neighbor's car parked at the corner or the curious eyes that followed us when we came back. That evening, we watched an old movie. Halfway through, the power flickered again, just for a second. I reached for the remote at the same time he did. Our hands brushed. It was innocent, accidental, but something about the moment froze us both. I pulled my hand away quickly. "You should get some rest," I said. My voice sounded steadier than I felt. He nodded. "Yeah, night, Claire." As I listened to his footsteps fade upstairs, guilt swelled, not because of him, but because of the loneliness that had crept into places I thought were sealed. I sat there long after the credits rolled, realizing how easily human hearts confuse kindness for connection. The next morning, Evelyn called. "Be back by noon," she said cheerfully. "Thank you again." Everything should have ended there. But later that evening, my phone rang again, her tone now tight, uneasy. "Claire, I need to ask something," she said. "Did anything unusual happen while I was away?" "What?" "Of course not," she sighed. "Someone told me they saw you and Aaron together at the store. They made it sound inappropriate." The word hit like a slap. "Evelyn, that's absurd. He's a child to me." "I know," she said quickly. "I told them that. But you know how people talk. I just wanted to warn you." After she hung up, I sat in the dark kitchen, heart thudding. The kindness of one weekend, twisted by gossip. It wasn't the rumor that hurt, it was realizing how fragile reputation becomes once people decide to believe what fits their story. When Evelyn and Aaron came by to pick up his things, everything felt different. Evelyn was kind but cautious. Aaron looked at me confused. He didn't know yet. "Thanks again," she said, hugging me lightly. As they turned to leave, Aaron whispered, "Did I do something wrong?" "No," I said softly. "You reminded me what warmth feels like." "That's never wrong." He smiled faintly, then walked out into the sun. I watched the car disappear down the road and let the tears come. Not of shame, but of clarity. Weeks passed. The rumor faded. People found new things to whisper about. But I couldn't shake the feeling that life had shown me something important. That weekend had held up a mirror, not to scandal, but to emptiness. To the way grief disguises itself as strength. I started volunteering at the Youth Art Center. It felt natural, teaching painting, sketching, helping others find quiet spaces to feel safe. Sometimes, when one of the teens stayed late drawing, I'd remember Aaron at my window that rainy night, the boy who unknowingly reminded me I still had something to give. I saw him again almost a year later. He was taller, older, with the same calm eyes. Evelyn and I met for coffee, and he tagged along. "Hey, Claire," he said, smiling. "Hey, stranger." He told me he'd gotten into an art competition and wanted to show me his sketchbook. When I flipped through it, my throat tightened. There, between the drawings, was one small sketch, my living room, candles glowing during that storm. Below it, he'd written, "Bravery isn't loud. Sometimes it just listens." I blinked fast, pretending to study the lines. "You've got real talent," I said quietly. He smiled. "You helped me remember that. Life rarely gives us the endings we expect. But sometimes, it gives us something softer, a moment of understanding." That weekend didn't end in drama or heartbreak. It ended in rediscovery. I realized connection doesn't have to break boundaries to change lives, it just has to be genuine. Aaron reminded me that kindness isn't a risk when it comes from the right place, and that loneliness, when faced honestly, can become a bridge instead of a wall. If you've ever been judged for simply being kind, or if you felt the sting of being misunderstood, this story is for you. Because sometimes the bravest thing you can do is choose compassion, even when the world chooses suspicion. Thank you for watching till the end. Broken Heart. If this story touched your heart, tell me in the comments what moments spoke to you most. Don't forget to subscribe for more true, emotional stories every week, stories that remind us that empathy still matters and that healing can start with a single act of kindness.